Long ago, between emerald forests and rivers bright as polished silver, there stood a kingdom of white towers and ringing bells. Its people were gentle and hopeful, but their princess, Aurelia, was not. She was admired across distant lands for her beauty, yet whispered about for her pride. Servants trembled beneath her sharp words. The poor were turned away from her gates. Even laughter in the palace seemed cautious in her presence. Her father, the aging king, would often say, "Beauty wins attention, my child, but kindness wins hearts." Aurelia would smile at her reflection instead of answering. She did not yet know that her reflection would soon shatter. In a neighboring realm ruled Prince Alaric, a young king crowned too early by tragedy. When famine struck his lands, he opened the royal granaries. When rebels were captured stealing bread, he pardoned them and fed them instead. One winter evening, an old woman appeared at his gates, cloaked in rags and trembling from cold. The court mocked her. Alaric did not. He seated her beside his throne and shared his own meal. As she finished eating, the old woman rose straight and tall. Her eyes burned with ancient power. "You give mercy freely," she said, "but do you understand what it costs?" "I give it because it is right," Alaric answered. The old woman shed her disguise. She was a sorceress, feared across kingdoms. "Then learn," she whispered. Lightning split the sky. Pain consumed him. His voice cracked into a croak. His hands shrank. His crown fell to marble. When the light faded, a frog lay upon the throne. "You shall remember who you were," the sorceress declared. "You shall speak and not be believed. You shall endure broken promises. Only when a royal heart learns humility through true change, not shame, shall you be freed." And she vanished. The frog prince wandered from place to place, rejected wherever he went. Children threw stones. Travelers laughed. Farmers chased him away with sticks. Even when he spoke clearly, politely, people screamed and fled. Hunger became his constant companion. Winter nights froze his thin body. He slept in mud, beneath roots, beside cold streams. Worst of all was hope. Time and again, he met nobles who made false promises. "I will help you," they said, only to abandon him at dawn. Each broken promise etched deeper scars into his heart. Years passed, then decades. Slowly, the memories of his human face began to blur, and he feared that one day he would forget who he had been. At last, exhausted and hollow, Alaric settled near a deep well beside a grand palace, the last place he had strength to go. One summer afternoon, bored by courtly music and tired of admiration, Aurelia wandered into the palace gardens. There, beneath an ancient linden tree, lay a crystal-clear well so deep that no one knew its bottom. The princess carried her most treasured toy, a golden ball that glittered in the sun. She tossed it into the air again and again, delighting in how the light danced across its surface. But vanity invites carelessness. With one careless throw, the ball slipped from her hands and plunged into the well, vanishing with a soft splash. Aurelia screamed and fell to her knees. "My golden ball. It was my favorite." Tears streamed down her face, not from sorrow, but from loss. From the dark water came a gentle voice. "Why do you weep, princess?" Startled, Aurelia looked around and saw a small green frog perched on the edge of the well, his eyes wise and calm. "If you can bring back my golden ball," she said impatiently, "I will reward you." The frog hopped closer. "I do not want gold or jewels," he croaked, "but if I retrieve your ball, you must promise to be my friend. I shall eat from your plate, drink from your cup, and sleep near you in your palace." Aurelia shuddered at the thought of a slimy frog near her silk pillows, but desire outweighed disgust. "I promise," she said quickly, without a thought for truth. The frog dove into the well and soon emerged with the golden ball shining in his mouth. He placed it gently at her feet. Without a word of thanks, the princess snatched the ball and ran back to the palace, leaving the frog behind. That evening, as the royal family sat down to dine, a soft knock echoed through the hall. Knock, knock. The guards opened the door, and in hopped the frog. "Princess Aurelia," he said calmly, "you made a promise." The princess screamed and climbed onto her chair. "Take it away," she cried. But the old king raised his hand. "What promise did you make, my daughter?" Reluctantly, Aurelia told him everything. "A promise," the king said sternly, "is sacred. You must honor it." With disgust burning in her eyes, Aurelia allowed the frog to sit at the table. He ate neatly, more politely than she ever had. Still, she scowled at him. That night, the frog followed her to her chamber. "I am tired," he said softly. "Please let me rest." Overcome with anger and revulsion, Aurelia grabbed the frog and threw him against the stone wall. The curse broken, the room filled with light. Where the frog had fallen stood a young prince, tall and noble, his eyes filled with sadness rather than rage. "I was cursed by a cruel sorceress," he said. "Only a princess who learned humility and honesty could break the spell." Aurelia stood frozen, her heart pounding not with joy, but with shame. She had not broken the curse through kindness, but through cruelty. Yet even so, the magic had ended. The prince bowed to Aurelia. "Your act has freed me, but freedom alone does not bring happiness." The princess's awakening. For the first time in her life, Aurelia truly saw herself not in a mirror, but in another's eyes. She saw her selfishness, her broken promises, her empty pride. Tears fell again, but this time they were different. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I have lived thinking only of myself. Teach me how to be better." The prince studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled gently. True change begins with regret and continues with action. In the days that followed, Aurelia transformed. She shared her meals with the poor, spoke kindly to servants, and listened instead of commanded. The people of the kingdom watched in wonder as their cold princess grew warm and compassionate. The prince remained by her side, not as a reward, but as a guide and friend. When the time came for him to return to his own kingdom, Aurelia surprised everyone. "You are free to go," she said. "I will not bind you with promises I cannot keep." The prince knelt before her. "Then I stay by choice." They were married not in grand splendor, but in a celebration filled with laughter, gratitude, and joy shared by all. Aurelia ruled beside her prince with wisdom and humility, remembered not for her beauty, but for her kindness. And so, the kingdom learned a lasting truth. Promises spoken lightly can wound deeply, but a selfish heart once awakened can grow into something beautiful.